of our visit to Brussels a few years ago in 2005 in response to an invitation received from NATO in the year 2005. 12 of our members contributed to this unprecedented event. Some of them revisit us today, and the delegation was led by Ambassador Reedy, our honorary chairman, and chairman at that time of the board. The few years later, in 2009, former Minister of Egypt, Ahmed Abul had kindly arranged a meeting between ECFA and the Secretary General of NATO during his visit to Cairo. The meeting took place in the premises of the Tahrir Palace near Tahrir Square. It is the former building of the Foreign Ministry. We had great discussions with the Secretary General. I also had the opportunity, together with General Ahmed Abdel Halim, member of ECFA, to interviewing Secretary General of NATO on an independent leading TV channel, Dream 2. It was very well received. I remember one of the provoking issues we covered here and there in Brussels or here in Cairo during these encounters was why, in dealing with the Arab world, NATO split it into two baskets, the Mediterranean and the Gulf, the Istanbul Initiative. In spite of all the difficulties we encounter in our region, we as Arabs like to remain close to each other and face the world together. I'm sure that today we shall make further progress in the direction of a better understanding of NATO's activities and plans worldwide and in our region, the Arab region at large. Now I would like to invite Ambassador Shambad to address our meeting.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Shekhar. I would like to thank you for your kind words and tell you how honored I'm pleased to be here among my former bosses, the most distinguished ambassadors in the Egyptian Foreign Service. If I start a thank you, I'm afraid I might miss someone, so I just want to thank everyone. And I see Ambassador Wahib al-Minyawi, one of the first ambassadors I worked with in Tokyo, so thank you very much. But equally honored to warmly welcome Ambassador Terry Statopoulos, the Assistant Secretary General for Security, and his delegation. There's Mr. Nukula DeSantis here, and Stephanie, who heads the Egypt desk, on this very important visit marking the 20th anniversary of NATO's Mediterranean dialogue. And thank very much Ambassador Mohammed Shekhar for organizing this event. We are the ones that owe you this appreciation for organizing this symposium to share together, exchange views on what happened during these 20 years. It's an opportunity to look at the achievements that have been accomplished and all the aspects of cooperation between Egypt and NATO on both the multilateral and the bilateral in various fields. Also, this takes place within Egypt's overall framework for international security and multilateral cooperation with the view of maintaining international peace and security. So the most important aspect, thank you. I think for us, one of the most, as many of you know very well, international peace and security is one of the fundamentals of Egyptian foreign policy, one of the founders of the United Nations. And before I get into the rest, I'd like to make a bit of to show you one of our future plans. As you know, Egypt will be a candidate for the United Nations Security Council non-permanent seat for 2016-2017. So the election will be next October, and we have produced this brochure which shows the the achievements and the efforts that Egypt have been doing in different fields, in peacekeeping, in peace building, in development in Africa. And we look forward, of course, that within the international community that Egypt's candidature will get the overwhelming support, given the great contribution that we believe we can make to further and promote international peace and security, especially that the Security Council deals with many issues related to this region's security. And I don't need to dwell on this point. It is it's obvious. If we look at the, as I said, we respect our obligations within the provisions of the UN Charter, and we believe in the vital role of the UN in maintaining peace and security. And therefore, in addition to the related roles and function of the international regional organizations, including NATO, in which we see the importance that its security policies and military operations be consistent with the principles of the UN and the Security Council resolutions. If we look at this region, and I don't need to address this crowd, but still, despite all the different other challenges, as we discussed last evening, the Palestinian issue remains at the forefront of this priority. And on the 12th of October, we hosted the Cairo conference on Gaza, on Palestine and Gaza, which gave a very strong message and very reflected the new resolve of the international community to give a push to the Palestinian-Israeli talks. And as President el-Sisi said, the time has come to end the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. So we feel that the international community should all seize this opportunity to pull its efforts and to support the coming negotiations that will be held towards the end of October. And because there has been financial contribution for Gaza, which exceeded some of the expectations. It reached 5.4 billion. Perhaps we had expected 4. It went more, but now what is more important is the political horizon. Without the political horizon, without the negotiations on the future, the financial contribution, as important as they are for the humanitarian situation in Gaza, it's not enough. Therefore, Egypt's priorities will be continue to focus on these negotiations to help them advance, but we cannot do it alone. We need the help of the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, as equally important as this issue is also the establishment of a zone free of nuclear weapons in the Middle East, which also remains a key challenge. The confirmation of the respect of regional states as well as the NPT state parties, including NATO members, to their international obligations. And I was happy when I first came in this morning that I found already a paper from the Council. Ambassador Mohammed Shakir has written the WMD free zone in the Middle East, regional perspectives. And this Council, we pay homage and respect to the Council's role in advancing this cause. And that remains also one of the top priorities for Egypt, especially with the NPT review conference coming up next year. As an equally disturbing challenge on the national, regional, and international level is terrorism, which requires concerted international efforts to combat the phenomena of terrorism, condemning all its forms, starting with extremism to the incitement of violence. Thus, Egypt believes in the importance of international mechanism in fighting terrorism through a comprehensive approach, which is not only military, but addresses the ideological, the extreme ideology. And in our discussions yesterday, we're trying to find the difference between the old terrorism and the new terrorism. In the old days, there was a lot of intelligence sharing, which was key to fighting terrorism. It still is, but today